Welcome back to Advent of Code 2025, Day 3. So, we've got 3 minutes to go before this starts. And my camera is doing something weird. Sorry about that. I don't know how to fix that. I guess I'm going to try updating OBS. So, first of all, am I live? Looks like I'm live. And is my video actually doing that? Yeah, it's not just the OBS preview. Like my stream is actually messed up. So it was doing this yesterday, and I was able to fix it by restarting OBS. So I restarted OBS again today and didn't fix it today. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna try updating OBS. I considered that like 6 minutes ago, and I was like, I don't know, can I do an OBS update in like 9 minutes before I have to start working on this puzzle? Maybe not. So I didn't want to risk it tonight. Maybe I'll do it for tomorrow. Maybe I'll forget. Yeah. So sorry about that weird video feed. We've got a minute and a half left. Once again, if you're watching on YouTube, just skip to the 3-minute mark, because I don't really have anything to talk about before midnight here. Getting kind of tired. I think this is going to be... I'm not going to stream at midnight tomorrow, because I have like an early-ish meeting Thursday morning, so I can't be staying up that late for like the 4th day in a row. So it's going to be the 3rd day in a row here, and then I'm going to take a break. I'll see how I feel. I guess I'm going to have to do Thursday late, like in the evening of the next day. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll stream Thursday at midnight then, or technically Friday at midnight, but maybe not that either. Probably Friday at midnight or Saturday at midnight. We'll see when I can get back onto the live schedule. But there's going to be at least a 1-day break coming up after today's stream. 15 seconds. Hey, Cowshaw, welcome to the stream. Or welcome back to the stream. Your username is familiar. I think I've seen you here before. And is it live? Yep, we're live. So I should be able to download my input. I have some input there. It's a whole bunch of numbers. That's a whole bunch of numbers. Okay. Yeah, edit it. There we go. Here's my template. And I'm going to need the test input. So let's copy that. I guess this is the test input. Looks like a grid problem. Maybe not. Maybe it's just numbers line by line. Okay, so 4 lines. I think I got that. So if I run this, I think I want to run it without time, unless I need to benchmark anything. Okay, so the template just echoes the input. Now let's see what the puzzle is today. I like how I watched a couple other streamers yesterday after the fact, and they like read through this entire thing verbatim, and then they still finish faster than me. So I skipped this to try to finish the puzzle faster, but it doesn't matter. Maybe I save like 1 minute. Escalator, printing department, elevators. Elevators and escalators? I think yesterday I mentioned an elevator. Batteries. Joltage rating, not voltage, joltage. That's a callback. Okay, so we have joltage numbers in a grid, 1 through 9. Banks. So each row is a bank. The joltage bank. Okay. Is it always going to be left then right? So a 2 and a 4 is going to be 24 and not 42. How big is the input? I mean, there aren't that many numbers in a line. This is what, like 70? Yes, load it. This is 100 numbers in a line. I think we can just brute force everyone. I don't want to try something clever that doesn't actually work. And these early days, I think doing the brute force strategy usually pays off. That's what I did the first day. It worked great. I was done in 11 minutes. Day 2, yesterday, I tried to be clever, and it backfired. It kind of worked for part 1, but it was overcomplicated, and then it did. Thinking about it after the fact, I could have extended my part 1 strategy to part 2, but brute force would have been much easier on day 2. So I think I'm going to brute force here, just loop through every possible pair of numbers and get the maximum, rather than risking an imperfect heuristic that turns out to be wrong or not exactly optimal. Okay, so I need to get these numbers. I need to get a vector out of this. I don't remember if I have a helper for this. I can split by a delimiter, but we don't have delimiters here. So, 0. So we're going to have n is going to be the length of the string, or the number of numbers in a row. So we're going to have an array of zeros and then parse the numbers into this. So we're just going to parse it into this array of nums. I'm going to call it v for vector instead of nums. Vi equals parse I32 string I. It's just 1 digit at a time. What? Why did I bother tab completing a single letter variable? Okay, so we have the row, and then this is parsed into a vector of integers now. That seems correct. Okay, and then we're just going to brute force. What are we doing here? So we find the optimal of each row, and then we add up that value from each row. So we add them up. That was another big mistake I made yesterday. I didn't read what I was supposed to calculate for the final answer. I just tried to count things instead of sum things, and that turned out to be wrong. And then I had to change my whole script. So pay attention to that. Don't program the wrong thing. Okay, so we're just gonna have a double loop. This one can go. Let's not try to optimize anything. Let's make this one J. And then we're gonna see what the 2 digits are and concatenate them. We're going to keep track of the running max. Just initialize it to -1. It just has to be initialized to something smaller than whatever you're going to see. And then max equals max function of max. And we're going to concatenate the digits as strings and then parse that back to an integer. I and 0i, no, for I and 0j. So I is going to be less than j. So vi, and then vj j. Close all my parentheses, and then sum plus equals max. I think that's it. Is it right? 357. That's right for the test. I've got a good feeling about this. Seems straightforward. All right, that's part 1 in under 8 minutes. Not bad. Oh. Yeah, I don't think we can brute force this one. How many do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You could brute force the test input. There just aren't that many permutations. Should I try it and just see how slow it is? You have 200 lines. All right, let's just see how slow it is. Let's copy part 1 to part 2. And then uncomment the call to that. And go back to the test input. I'm about to write some terrible code. I'm gonna have 12 nested loops to brute force this. I mean, you could have like a next permutation sort of thing, but it's not a permutation. It's n choose k, and I don't think I have a helper for that set up. I could just do 12 nested loops though. That won't be that bad. Okay, instead of I and j, let's have I0 and I1. But really, it's going to be I00 because we're going to have to go up to 11, 0 through 11, total of 12. So j is going to be I01. And I is going to be I00. So we had 357 for part 1, and with those renamed variables, it's still 357. Now, let's go up to 3. So the outermost one is going to loop up to n. Actually, it could be, we can just start this one like at 2, because it's going to be a dead loop if we start this at 1. And this one will not loop up to n. This will loop up to I02. So you can see the pattern here. This variable is the upper bound of the next nested loop. And we can do some fancy array stuff in Syntran. Like that. First of all, let's put this back to n. Oh no. I don't want to do that. Okay, let's not do the fancy array thing, because it gives me back an array. It doesn't just concatenate everything. I'm wasting a lot of time here on something that's probably not even going to work. Yeah, so I have double brackets there. All right. So, like I said, I'm going to write some terrible code here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 0. Let's keep that highlighted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11. These can also increment. Let's get these aligned. And then these also get incremented. This one goes up to n. Here, one, did I get everything without typos? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I warned you, I'm writing some terrible code here. All right, no trailing comma there. So it should work for the test input. Right, this is going to overflow my 32-bit integers. So this actually needs to be I64, and then we have to parse I64. Three, 1, 2, 1, 9, 6, 1, 9. It's correct for the test input. Now let's see how slow this is. I think it's not going to work, and I'm going to have to do something more clever. It's going through line. Oh, no, that was part 1. Okay. And we're on the first line. Yeah, this is too slow. So how do you do this? Is memoization the way? Because you can't just find the biggest digit. So if we're looking for the first thing, we can't just look for a 9, because what if there's only a 9 here, and then you don't have anything to the right of it to make your next 11 picks? this has been running for over a minute, and it hasn't finished the first line yet. There was my part 1 answer, and it just started on part 2. So this is far too slow. I don't regret trying the brute force thing, because this is only day 3. I sort of expected these to ramp up difficulty faster, because we only have 12 days. So I think to get a sense of the difficulty, you have to like double the day. Day 3 is going to be more like an average day 6 difficulty from previous years, not a normal day 3 difficulty. So is there an easier way to search that doesn't just require that doesn't require anything extremely clever? Like if we have 12 digits, we know we can't use any of the last 11. So then can we just get the biggest digit from the first part of the string? I think we can try that. All right, so let's try to reproduce part 1 in a more intelligent way, and then change a variable from 2 to 12 and see if it works. I guess I'm gonna just let this keep running while I work on that. So part 2. Let's call that part 2 brute, and I'm not going to use that. So let's take part 1 and copy that again. I guess I'm going to leave it running up here in a separate tmux panel. And let's go back to the test input. I mean, it doesn't matter. Well, I want something that runs faster than that. So yeah, let's go back to the test input. Okay. And let's try to do part 1, but in a more clever way. So we're going to have all of the parsing, and we're going to accumulate the max, but we're going to try to find the max in a more intelligent way. So we're going to have the number of digits, which is 2 for part 1. And eventually we're going to bump this up to 12, but I'm not ready for that yet. I want to see if I can get it working with just 2. So we're going to have a digit iterator up to the number of digits. And then what are we going to do? We're going to search we're going to initialize the digits to 0 digits, and it's going to be a vector of length ndig. And then just get the max from the leftmost slice of this vector v. And I can just get that with max. I don't need to iterate. I don't need to have an other loop other than this for loop. So diges I dig equals max. I actually want max val because it's the max element of a vector. It's not the max of two scalar integers. Fortran has max and max val functions, and they have the same distinction. There's a good reason, which I can't remember how to explain well right now. It's something to do with overloading or something funny. Like you do want different functions for the scalar and the vector version. In Fortran, I think it's because of the dimension, because you can like get the max along different dimensions of a higher rank array. So it's good to have a max for scalars and max val for vectors. So it's going to be v 0. We also we can't go to the left of anything that we've already used. So let left equals 0. So I want to keep track of where I'm getting my digit from, so I do want to iterate manually. I don't want to just use max val. So for I in left up to, this is the tricky part. It's going to be n minus n minus n dig plus I dig plus 1. I'm not sure about that plus 1. You want to keep track of the max digit. Doesn't this have to be... This has to be I64. I changed that for the other part too, and then I copied this from part 1 again. And then what if you have two that are equal? You want to pick the leftmost one so that you have more of a search space available for the next digit. So if they're equal, you want to keep the leftmost one. So if vi is greater than, if it's equal, we don't want to do anything. If it's greater than, we're going to update our max dig and the location of it, or the index of it, imax. I would prefer to never nest it, but that's going to break my brain if I try to think how to do it right now. Max dig is vi, and then imax is I. And then after we get that, we want to update left. Left is imax. And then for the next digit, we start iterating at left because you can't go backwards. You can only go further to the right. And then now that we have the max, we want to save that in our digits vector. So digits I dig is max dig. Nine nine 8 9. That's not right. So we want to go left plus 1. I think I'm just going to kill this because that's never going to finish. Not going to get rid of that pane, but I'm going to collapse it to one line. Okay, so I think we want to do left +1. Still not sure about this +1. We might come back to that. 8, 7. Yeah, so I think this +1 is wrong. Why am I getting 8? We're going to initialize this to -1 because we've added 1 here, and we actually want to start from 0 on the first iteration. Okay, 9, 8. 9, 8, 8, 1. 9, 8, 8, 9. So maybe that other +1 was correct. Nine, 8, 8, 9, 7, 8. 9, 8, 8, 9, 7, 8, and was the sum correct? 357. Well, I didn't actually add my sum because now I have a vector that I have to concatenate into a string. I think I do have like a helper for that. Cat strings, string vec. That's not exactly right. Cat I32s. Let's make a little helper function for that. Function cat I32s. It's going to take a vector of digits in this case. Don't confuse it with the v from above. That's a vector of I32s. This is actually going to return an I64 because this is big for the real input. So we're going to make an empty string. And then should get 357. All right. So we generalized part 1 to part 2. Now let's try cranking this up to 12. And does it cook? I think that's right. 312, 619, 312. That's correct. Will it run in a reasonable amount of time for the real input? Maybe. Part 1, part 2. I think part 2 is faster than part 1 now. I've got a good feeling about this. Oh, okay, under 31 minutes. Not terrible. Pretty good. It actually wasn't that hard. I thought this was going to require memoization or something crazy, or some more clever heuristic or some more clever searching strategy than what I ended up needing. Yeah. I did it faster than I did day 2, but I only did day 2 so slowly because I got unlucky. I tried to do something clever in part 1, and then it didn't. The twist for part 2 yesterday, it did not fit with my approach. If I had just randomly picked a different approach for part 1 that happened to work with part 2 yesterday, that would have been convenient. But it wasn't in the cards. So let's commit. Maybe this does not need to be to do because it's done, and we can just initialize it to the right thing up front. And this thing, we're not like updating this in a loop, so we can just declare it down here, or we could just cat I32's digits, we could just do it down there. Get rid of this dead code. Let's get rid of all these print lines. Get rid of the extraneous ones at least. Not the part that prints the actual answer. Okay, so I'm actually still using the slow algorithm for part 1. Is this still the correct answer before I commit it? Part 1 is good. I think part 2 is good. I ended up doing like a cleanup commit, and I don't even remember. Oh, I had like I have this run.sh script which runs every day for the purposes of unit testing my Syntran interpreter. That will test all of my solutions to make sure all of my Syntran code still runs in case I introduce a bug to the interpreter. So that's what that's for. So I already had the file there, or I had it in 2024 at least. I have this in most years. I might be missing a couple years. So it's not really new, but I copied it in there and added it. So that was another commit that I did off stream. See 2025, day 3. Let's push that. And then let's potentially do a raid if I have any viewers. So let's confirm that this pushed. Day 3. Here's my code. It would be nice if I can delete this first of all. It would be nice if I took this part 2 solution and backported it for part 1, because it is faster than the brute force that I did for part 1. So maybe I'll never get around to that. Yeah, that's just about it for today. Let me see if I have any viewers, because if not, there's no point in raiding. Yeah, I think I have 1 viewer, but it's myself, so I'm actually not going to bother with a raid today. If I had 2 viewers, I would do a raid. If I had 1 viewer besides myself, I would do a raid. Yeah, thanks for anybody who tuned in. I think that's it for today, so I will catch you next time. And hopefully I get this video stream issue fixed. All right, thanks. Bye.